welcome or welcome back to my channel. Like sweating. So today's video is going to be about my labor and delivery. I was told basically that it was going to be a very long process. It was my first child. It definitely wasn't. And by July 9th, I went into the midwife. They did what they did. I don't want to give you TMI, but she said the other thing you could do is anything that gets you stressed, because apparently stress can bring on labor. So I went home, and I think at about 10 p.m. I started watching Love Island, and by 11:15 I had felt this massive kick in my stomach, or what I thought was a kick anyway. And I remember saying to my husband, I was like, ow! And for a few days prior to this, Devon kept saying, Devon's my husband, Devon kept saying, I definitely made that noise. Anyway, Devon kept saying to me, did your waters break yet? Did your waters break? What happened? So what was funny was that night when I got this shooting pain, he said the same thing. He was like, did your waters break? What's happening? And I was like, no, I don't think so. But that really was very painful. It felt like there was obviously, it felt like what happened. But like there was this big bag of water and someone got a needle and went, anyway, nothing happened. So I got up to use the restroom, and let's just say my waters broke majorly. So then I decided to leave it a little bit and just kind of see what happened. I decided to wait to just make sure that I wasn't going to go in too early. They sent me home. I was having really painful contractions, and I called the midwife. They said, like, there's no way you could be that close if your water's only just broke, basically. What I forgot to tell you guys, raspberry leaf tea has been known to induce labor. In the UK, it's now thoroughly advised you don't have raspberry leaf tea because it almost works too well, and it can make labor go so quick that it's almost overwhelming how quick. I was 3 or 4 days late. And by that point, I was like, I'm done. It was so hot out during the day, which is really unusual for the UK. So I decided to take the raspberry leaf tea, which probably wasn't the best idea because I took 2 cups of it, and within a couple of hours, my waters had broke and my contractions were really close together, which was very unusual apparently. So that was that. Where do you want to go? You want to sit next to me? Why don't you sit here? I have this book. So yeah, I decided to take raspberry leaf tea. After timing my contractions for maybe an hour, I called the hospital, and that was when they said, like, there's no way you could be that close. You should wait at home and then come in when, you know, it's been 6 or 7 hours or something. And I kept thinking to myself, if I'm at early stages of labor and they're already this painful, then, like, yeah. So I waited a little, and then I just thought, you know what, no, I can't do this. I'm going to go in, because at this point they were like 1.5 minutes apart, 2 minutes apart, sometimes 30 seconds apart. It didn't make any sense to me as to why they were so quick. So I went in, they did my tests and examined and everything, and they said that I had a few hours to go before they could admit me into the labor ward. Wasn't physically at the point that I could be admitted because it was still going to take a few hours. Luckily, the ward next to me was free. There was nobody in it because they were trying to send me home, and I said no. I said I can't go home. I don't know how I'm supposed to deal with this pain on my own. They said, well, we could just put you in this ward next door and you can have maybe a couple of hours sleep. I said to them, there's no way I'm going to be able to be getting any sleep, but I think I did. And Devon and my mum were amazing, and they took turns to sit next to me. You know, they did half an hour each, and then the other one got a bit of rest. And my husband, I just remember telling me every contraction, breathe, Georgia, breathe. It always makes me wonder. People write these books on labor and delivery and what you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to go to all these classes and stuff. But me, I was like so out of it that I didn't remember how to breathe. I had to be reminded to breathe. So it makes me wonder how many people actually remember, and I take my hat off to those that do remember. I just don't know how I would have done, because there were so many things I forgot. Anyway, so then they admitted me 3 or 4 hours later. It was about 6 a.m. the next morning. I apologize to anybody watching this and trying to get a straight story out of me, because being a mum doesn't happen. It doesn't work like that. You gotta do whatever you gotta do to keep the child entertained. So right now, this is what I'm doing to do that. Anyway, so I was admitted to the ward at about 6 a.m. in the morning. I was delivering. Do 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 do. I was kind of just breathing through my contractions and everything. I decided personally I wanted to get an epidural. I went to like no breathing classes or anything because I knew like, no, I'm gonna get an epidural. That was my choice. Everyone to their own when it comes to their baby and how they want to deliver it. So once I was ready for the epidural, I asked them to go and get the guy to administer it to me. And they said, I'm really sorry, but the guy that does the epidurals is in a C-section, which meant there was one guy in the entire hospital that did them. So I was like, okay, fine. I'll just breathe through it, I guess, until he's out. Little did I know that an hour and a half later, he comes out of this C-section. And I got very heated and I was like, I've had enough. I need an epidural right now. And they said, I'm really sorry, miss, but he's gone to lunch. I then had to wait for this guy to eat. I just wasn't in a position to be any more patient than I was. The midwife finally came up to me and told me, I think another hour later, that this guy was ready. They were going to prep my hand for the cannula thing. So they did that, and then 20 minutes later, she goes out to go and get this guy to come back in and give me the epidural. And before she could even leave the room, she turned around, looked at me, or looked at the situation, and she went, oh my God. And I remember my mum saying to the midwife, what? And Devin was like, what's going on? What's happened? And she said, I can see the head. So at that point, she came up to me and she basically held my hand and she said, Georgia, I'm really sorry. She said, but it's too late to get an epidural. I had an absolute meltdown. I was like, I know, I have to get one. They told me it was just too late, and I was told by the midwife, okay, so on the next contraction, I need you to push for me. And I said, absolutely not. I said, I'm not doing anything until I get my epidural. So the contraction came round, and the midwife said, Georgia, push now. And I said, no. And for the first like 2 or 3 contractions, I was like, absolutely not, I'm not doing it. I'm not pushing. No, I'm not doing it. I just realized for half the video, my head was pretty much the only thing that was in the, what's it called?
One eternity later.
In the frame. So I refused to push for the first few contractions. And then I thought to myself, you know what? I just need to do it, and I need to stop thinking too much and just focus on getting this baby out, because it wasn't going to come out otherwise. So yeah, I did that. And I don't know, maybe 3 pushes later, I just decided there is no way on earth I could physically continue doing what I was doing. Yes, I know physically there probably was a way, but mentally I was like, I can't do it. I cannot do it. And no joke, maybe 5 seconds after I decided I couldn't do it anymore, she practically fell out of me. I mean, I'm not going to go into specifics, but if you knew how early in delivering to then how quickly she came out, I'm surprised she didn't end up on the wall on the other side of the room. Like, it was that surprising. And both the midwives went, like, anyway, it was crazy, but it was one of the most amazing things I have ever done. She is the best thing that's ever happened to me. You can't really see her, you can just see her hair. I'm gonna bring you into the camera so everyone can see how pretty and gorgeous you are. The rest of it after the main part was just the most beautiful, gratifying, amazing thing, and I wouldn't change any of it. You know, that's not to say that some people have to have their labour go a certain way, medically or physically or whatever. I am very grateful that mine was so smooth. One thing I'd recommend not doing is taking raspberry leaf tea. Yes, it could have just been a coincidence, but it was all over way quicker than I thought. It was all done and dusted. So what I just wanted to do was share with you guys my experience going through labour. I feel like having done it, everything else And yes, there have been times where I've had breakdowns. I don't know what new mother doesn't have a little meltdown or a breakdown here and there. But everything after going through labor for me was it was amazing, because I was so proud of myself that I'd brought this beautiful little girl into the world. And she is the best thing that's ever happened to me. 100%. Every milestone that she achieves, I'm just so proud and happy that she chose me. So yeah, I just wanted to share with you guys my experience, help you guys get to know me a little more if you don't know me. And if you do, maybe you've never heard my labor story, maybe you have, maybe you're watching it again, I don't know. What I wanted to do was share some photos of the day itself and the days surrounding it. That's my story. That was my experience. This is my gorgeous baby girl, Skylar Grace Manuel. So again, for now, I think that's it.